Hey guys, what's up? Today is the day I was clearly craving Pop Tarts, so we're gonna make them in mini. Now there are some people who love them and some people who hate them.
Disgusted?
Maybe you fall in between and they're just okay, but today none of that matters because we're making them anyway. These aren't the usual Pop Tarts I like, but these are the mini brand ones, so we're making those that are on the box. First thing to do is get some black clay and roll it out into a pretty thin layer. Now, I had some old black clay, so I struggled really hard just to get this into a workable form. I mean, the struggle was real. As you can see, I had to dust the table with some baby powder after softening it with some essential oils, and it still gave me trouble. Now, since mine are going inside the box, I'm going to cut the squares a little smaller than the width and the length of the box, and I kind of thought at least 4 of these would fit into the box. But due to the frosting and filling I added later on, only about 2 or 3 fit since I didn't actually measure the depth of the box. So way to go, dum-dum. No matter though, having some outside of the box for display purposes is great too. So way to save face on that mistake, right? Now, I'm going to throw some texture on each one of these with a toothbrush. I'm only going to texture one side and just use the texture side for the bottom and the top, and then the untextured smooth sides will be on the inside of the pastry. I wrote out some white clay for the filling, and I'm going to get that pretty thin as well. But not as thin as the crust because I do need a little thickness to it. I actually used a cutter for these because they need to be a little bit smaller than the crust, and it's not really, I guess, necessary to use the cutter per se. I could freestyle it, but since these are for someone, I won't butcher them like that. And now that I've got my filling all ready to go, it's assembly time. Building the Pop-Tart is fairly easy, but I do want to make sure to press each layer in semi-firmly and kind of flesh out all the edges while simultaneously smoothing them for a more natural look. And I'll do the same with the crust on top because you don't want these popping apart later on. You know, you don't want the Pop-Tarts popping. Get it? No? Okay. Once I get the top on, I'm going to make sure to seal all the way around the Pop-Tart. And while I'm at it, I'm also making a clear mark above the top and bottom of the filling and slightly on the side so that you can see that's where the filling kind of begins on the inside, which also makes it look like a pocket. I also made some little indents around the crust edges, even though they don't really do that for real Pop-Tarts, but to me, it does make it look a little more realistic, like you closed it with a fork. So far, these are looking pretty good, and I'm happy with it. Now, I made quite a few of these, but I'm going to actually take a chunk out of this one, and that's just to simulate a bite being taken out. Because, you know, what's a Pop-Tart that someone hasn't bit out of, right? Does that sound right? Maybe? No? Anyway, I don't want a perfect cut because no one ever takes a perfect bite of anything. So I'm cutting it a little rigid. And I also want to make sure the filling can be seen on the inside. So I'm just working to pry the clay up a bit so you can see the icing inside a bit more clearly while also texturing the crust a bit with my knife. I'm going to give these a bake so I don't smush them when I ice them later, and while it's baking, I'm going to make that yummy, crusty icing that almost all Pop-Tarts come with, you know, unless you get those bland unfrosted ones. You know the ones I'm talking about. Then, I guess you could skip this step. The icing is just some white pastels with a bit of white clay mixed with some TLC and Fimo Deco Gel. I also added a little vanilla spice essential oils to give it a nice smell, and also to thin the icing out a bit. Once the Pop-Tarts finished baking, I let them cool for a little bit, and then I just took a dotting tool and spread the icing on each one. Now, how much icing gets added is really more of a self-preference, so I just added enough to be a semi-thick but even layer so that you don't see any of the actual chocolate cookie peeking through the frosting. I took some fake dirt crumbs that I got at a craft store a long time ago and sprinkled those on as cookie crumbs. I added a decent amount of those and just did that over and over again until I had iced all the Pop-Tarts. This same format can be used to make any kind of Pop-Tart flavor, really. You just gotta swap the colors. My favorite flavor of Pop-Tart tends to be strawberry or cherry. Nobody asked. I gotta say, frosting the Pop-Tarts was actually the most fun part for me for some reason. It was just so satisfying, feeling like I was frosting a real cookie or something. The whole process wasn't that difficult, actually. I remember trying to make these when I was younger, and it was like the hardest thing to do ever. Progress. It's a thing. I'm also going to add some icing to the inside of the bitten out of Pop-Tart so that you can kind of see the filling even better. These will get one more bake and then a gloss, and that is it. You are done, or rather, I am done. These actually came out super cute. I really, really like them. My mom liked them too because that's what it was for. But let's see what crappy crafts I can make in the next video. Bye!